Today is January 30th, and my name is Sarah Kong. It is around 3 o'clock right now, and we are interviewing Dr. Stephen Wong for the Houston Asian American Archive. My partner is
Chelsea Wan.
okay.
Chelsea, nice name. Come on, Sarah, yeah.
Thank you.
And we'll get started. So, when and where were you born? When and where were you born?
Hong Kong. Yeah.
Can you describe the community that you grew up in and like what values your family raised you with?
What values?
Yeah, so like,
Okay, my life history is. So I born in Hong Kong, but I'm not Cantonese. I'm a Fujianese. In fact, I speak Taiwanese.
oh,
I grew up, I speak Fujianese, the Mingnan. That's the Taiwanese language. And I grew up in Hong Kong in the area called North Point. That's a centralized of the non-Cantonese community, which is mostly Fujian and Shanghainese. And in fact, funny, Cantonese is my third language. I speak Fujian first, and then I went to my parents sent me to a Mandarin-speaking only school in Hong Kong. So I grew up speaking Mandarin first. And that's a community that's quite interesting. And during my time, actually, went through the riot in Hong Kong in 60s. The Hong Kong riot these days is nothing compared during that time. You have bombs, all these things. It's serious. That's during the Cultural Revolution period. Yeah, they almost went over. So it's make a quite impression on me on that part. My father actually is from Filipino Chinese community. They immigrated to Philippines 100 years ago. My great grandfather there, and for very reason because Philippines at that time, you remember America had this Asian Exclusion Act until '62. Philippines had similar thing until 1973. Marcos abolished that act. Then Chinese start allowed to bring their wife over. That time because it's a traditional way, right? The Chinese person went back to the old village, find a mate, married there, but they cannot bring it back. They only bring their son back. So at that time we settled in Hong Kong. Both of us, my father, we have business on both sides, so we're in Hong Kong a little bit. So in that sense, so I went to Philippines once quite frequently. I speak Tagalog a little bit, and I went there. I love Southeast Asia, so that's what I grew up with. And actually, I relate the elementary school I have actually is run by actually very Taiwanese setting. Actually, is they are from Taiwanese. A lot of Suzhou, Ningbo. I don't really heard about that. Suzhou, Zhejiang, the two provinces. This is Tongxianghui, and this all these rich Takong from China. They left some of the ship, met all the rich guys there. They all go together to form. So Shanghainese and at that area is actually help Hong Kong start their commerce. Hong Kong at that time is just fish port, but Hong Kong benefit from riot of China. Unfortunately, during the Second War, and then this communist took over and all these things. And that's why I started. And my education actually in secondary school is in a Catholic school, a missionary school, all boys school, no girls. It's one of the oldest Christian school. It's a Salesian school, and my education is an English-speaking school also. Also, it's funny. I never in a Cantonese-speaking school, but I learned Cantonese later on. So, and that's what I have grown with. The background is a mixture. My mother is a very devout Buddhist, and my father is kind of Buddhist, but is not that devoted. But I converted to Christianity during my high school, secondary school.
You said you were in the Philippines for part of the time during your secondary school.
Oh, in elementary, secondary, summertime, on and off. Actually, I spent 1 full year there. So I'm not quite sure the familiar Hong Kong system at that time. It's a British system. So we have this 5 years secondary school, and then 2-year matriculation. You don't have it here.
No.
So 5 year you consider high school graduate, and you have this 2-year college, which is P-college in the same school, so matriculation before you go to university. University only for 3 years. So I took, actually, when people finish 5 year, I didn't go to matriculation. They call it Form 6, Form 7, or Upper 6 or Lower 7, all these things. We call it Form 1 to Form 5 in high school. So I took 1 year to in Philippines, running around doing nothing, but just doing the country, got quite fun. And get bored and came back to study last year. I jumped the queue. I studied last year of the matriculation, and then went to Australia for college. Yeah.
How did you decide to study electrical engineering in Australia?
That's a very interesting question, actually. I got in. I was accepted in. I studied biology, by the way. My matriculation is in biology, and I got in university, Hong Kong University, as a biology major, but it got very boring, and then went to change completely to electrical engineering, so something different, something technical. As you know, the boys' school tend to be very science and engineering oriented, right? Typically. So either you go, that time we have 2 routes, one's go biology route, the other is maths route. So I went to Australia, they looked at me, it doesn't matter, your score is good enough, so they let me go into electrical engineering. I find it actually interesting. Reality, I was young, I had no clue. I just wanted to do something non-biology at that time. Funny thing, I'm doing biology now. It's very short. And it's fun. And at that time, it's good in Australia. Australia is very nice at that time. They have free education. I went in, they have quota. I think they give 200 in Hong Kong, quota 200 Singapore, 200 Malaysia, something. So they have free education, so you go in there. Now they charge your arms and need to go in to study Australia, but at that time it's completely free. In fact, they forced me to work on the summer. So actually, it's good times, good fun, because I enjoy, I see a lot of different Australia countryside, work in an engineering firm in the mining town, all these things. It's enjoyable, get a lot of exposure. To say the truth, I just don't want to do biology. That's the reason I got into electrical engineering.
Okay. How was adjusting to living in Australia for your undergraduate degree, coming from Hong Kong?
Let me think. I'm relatively lucky because God's blessing. I went to Australia. I live in a Jesuit college. Australia is like British system. You university in the daytime, and then you live in a college. The college are not like dorm here. They actually have full fledged of student activity. They have tutor, they have canteen. You live there for 4 years. Okay, and then we have 6 college. I think I went to University of Western Australia in Perth, all the way down there. Okay, it's most isolated cities, and I live in the Jesuit college, and I know those Jesuit quite well, and they have and actually I enjoy a lot. In fact, I was pretty active. They assigned me quite well actually, and I was in the social committee chair. I was head of the college photographer. I also the head of the tennis, table tennis, and captain, also in the basketball team. Actually, I forgot I spent much time studying. You're right. I have a good time in Australia. Yeah. They are very easygoing people. I enjoy it. The adaptation is not that much problem. I'm lucky in the sense I live in a college. Most overseas students, they don't live in a college. Because college tend to be more expensive. I never get my. Actually, I'm also very lucky. Consider myself very lucky. Because an engineering student, I have to work the summertime. One summer I can get the whole year's pay already. So I never ask my family for money. Yeah. So in fact, I had money enough to buy cargo elsewhere. So I live in college for 4 years. I live a lot of lifelong Australian friends. I still in contact with them. Actually, I enjoy that. Actually, I miss a little bit, but not much a problem with adaptation. And remember, Hong Kong is kind of a
British rules.
Mixture. It's a very, it's an East-West mixture, and because I'm an English school graduate, so and also come from a Catholic background, I went to Catholic college.
Okay.
Same thing. I mean, it's not too much a problem at all. And so, especially when you are sporty.
Yeah.
I'm much thinner at that time. Okay, so it's fine. To be fair. When you are sporty and you make friends easily.
Yeah.
So.
How did your parents feel about you moving to Australia?
Actually, at that time they're not happy, to say the truth. I actually accepted into King's College in Cambridge. Okay, and that time you are too young to know. Margaret Thatcher, that changed the rule, tuition. Overnight, they changed the rule, increased the tuition by 10 times.
Oh, wow.
So I look at it, I don't want to ask my parents for money. I mean, they have it, but I don't want to ask it. I mean, when you're young, you're rebellious, right? You guys at the age, right? I mean, you understand what I'm talking about. So I applied the £300, but they accept me is £3,000. I thought they make it a zero. At that time, Margaret Thatcher changed the rule for that year. They make a British education as export business. In fact, it started from there. All the tuition go up. US go up, Australian go up, everybody follow through, it starts making money. So I went to Australia because it's free. That's the only reason. And they think I'm stupid because well, it's okay, who cares? Australia is one more year, and you know, when you're young, you look back, it may be stupid. I mean, yeah, I agree. But you know, life is what you take, and when you're young, you make decisions, you move forward. So they are not happy. Put it this way, they weren't very happy when I decided to go to Australia and go to England. Okay.
What were the demographics of your peers? Were they mostly like white, or did you mostly have Asian friends, or?
I think most of them are Asian, but not necessarily Chinese. I actually live in Singapore. After Australia, I went to Singapore. So in fact, I was there for officially 4 years. I worked for Hewlett Packard.
Okay.
Yeah, HP Singapore. And when I was young, I tend to have a tendency. When I change a job, I change a country. It was quite fun. And then when you're single, you're easier. My wife complaining. So I went to Australia because about in engineering, 1/4 of my class are Malaysian Chinese or Singaporean Chinese. Australia has a large influence in this Southeast Asia at that time. They give a lot of scholarship. So they have a lot of them. So we have a good time, and when I graduate, they say, Steve, why don't you come over here, have fun, so I come over here. In Singapore, that time in the 80s, you haven't born yet, don't worry. In the 80s, they just, they are blooming. Singapore actually very far behind in Hong Kong at that time. If you look back, it's unbelievable. At that time, they're just catching up. Hong Kong took off in 70s. Singapore actually took off in 80s, behind Hong Kong for 10, 15 years. So easy find job, and went there and enjoyed the mix. I like the Singaporean culture a lot. First of all, they're still a very majority Chinese, but they have a lot of mixture of the Malay. 9% Malay, 16% Malay, 9% Indonesian, Indian, mostly Tamilese, I think. And the Southern Asia, and then the others. And I like the culture, and also the Chinese, because they are mostly from Fujian. They speak the language, it's Mandarin. I enjoy it a lot. And my friends, a mixture. I think my peers, I think still a lot of Chinese, but I think a lot of Asians, Caucasians, yeah, a lot of Indian actually, quite a lot of Indian friends. A lot of Indian friends, Caucasian friends, and yeah. It's a mixture. I think it's, I would say probably 50% Asian, or less than 50% Asian, the rest is mixture.
And how was working for Hewlett Packard in Singapore?
It's quite fun actually. I make all kinds of mistakes, they still tolerate it. It's a great company. I mean, this is my first company. That is the original Hewlett Packard, not the current Hewlett Packard. When Hewlett Packard when the founder is still there. I was in Singapore in Palo Alto. I was involved in the PrintJet project, the first inkjet printer, the automation project. So I travel both places, and And you can see that time HP, the culture is very open, HP way, and the CEO has no offices, no executive offices, no executive lounge, nothing like that. Everybody just ego. HP that time is a small company, it's around $5 billion only. But it's a great company, and I mean, they really, they hire fresh. Electrical engineering is biased, okay? Electrical engineering, top 5, 10%, the top students, and grew there for life. That's the culture at that time. I enjoy it a lot, yeah, and yeah.
After you worked in Singapore, you moved to America, correct?
Yeah, I got recruited by Bell Labs.
How
Yeah.
was moving to America and the immigration process? Or
AT&T take care of everything. I just show up. I actually consider lucky. I never worry too much about immigration because they just ship me over there and
Yeah.
they have a, you know, there's a history. You know the Marvel system, right? The original. You're too young to that. Before AT&T is called Marvel system. The AT&T is a headquarter company, and all the Baby Bell company. It's only one company at the time. Okay. Outside Pentagon, the whole world controlled by the Marvel, all the communication. Maybe that's the reason Uncle Sam decided to break it. So they broke it in early 80s, 80 something, and then they started to be more competitive, and they hire. The Bell Lab at that time is a heyday. Bell Lab is great. The heyday of Bell Lab at that time, 20,000 people, half of them are PhD, get the brightest kid. At that time, we don't even care about Stanford, Harvard, they're nothing. I'm serious, because at that time it's so rich. And all the invention, in fact today, if you look carefully, a lot of Silicon Valley invention, you can trace back Bell Labs invention. That is a national treasure of US. And they give me an offer, they came back, they look at HP, the director, the president came by, they're very impressed with HP. And the next day I got a call, say they want someone like me. So when you're a young kid, Bell call you show up, right? And in fact, it turned out to be one of my mistakes. I should stay in HP. All the peers who work on PrintJet become rich and famous. I went to Bell Lab, I lost opportunity. I worked at a cool project at that time. You never know when you are young, right? And but Bell Lab had a good time. I see all the top people. It's a different culture, very open, very proud of their work, very professional. I enjoy it.
How was adjusting to Florida? And was it like different from Australia or your experiences in Singapore?
I never have any problem with adjusting anything.
Yeah.
Hong Kong people tend to be very flexible.
Yeah.
It's the culture there. Yeah, Singapore. I enjoy Singapore. Actually, I still have friends. I try to go back every year.
Okay.
Yeah. I still a collaborator. I try to find some. I still have some collaborator there.
Okay.
Yeah, helping them a little bit. I still review their research grants.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then after Orlando, you wanted to go back to
Actually,
school.
Jersey. I went to Jersey first.
Oh, okay.
And Bell Lab headquartered in Jersey, and that time 18 just split. There's a company called they're manufacturing called Western Electric. You probably never heard of it. It's the original arm of semiconductor. The first semiconductor was making Western Electric manufacturing. Anyway, they tried to automate it, and long story short, they become so competitive. They need to find Bell Lab people to help them to automate wafer fab. So Orlando that time is opened up, a new fab, $5 billion. In fact, you went to Orlando, there's a parkway called John Young Parkway. Orlando City opened that parkway in order to get AT&T in to the park. And then we were shipped there to help them to automate the wafer fab. VSI, chips, all these things. I was working on semiconductor. Yeah, that's times. I had a good time in Orlando, you can tell. Better than New Jersey, I'm telling you. Yeah.
What piqued your interest to go back to school for computing after that?
Actually, that is afterthought. Actually, this look, it's a funny story. Actually, it's real. As I always kill my career all the time. The AT&T at that time they split, and we do manufacturing, but still all the smart accounting corporations say they figured out no matter how good you automate, you still cannot compete overseas. So they start moving the manufacturing overseas. That's why AT&T go overseas first time. They went back to Singapore, Thailand, Barcelona, and I'm helping them to move because we decided the same thing. And I know the Asian culture very well, so Thailand and Singapore and Barcelona even over there. In fact, that time a whole bunch of Spanish engineers in our team there. These guys good time. They eat at 9 o'clock and go to dance and finish at midnight, come back, start working at 7 o'clock. A lot of energy. I don't know. And after I moved the thing over, we were fab over, the head of my boss say, we want to move you there to become a plant manager. In Thailand, I tried to explain to him Thai and Chinese are very different. Not very successful. So being young, at that time, you don't care. I mean, actually, and so I walk over to. So Western Electric main plant is Allentown, very boring place in Pennsylvania. That's first thing, Bethlehem, Allentown. And I walk over the university over there called Lehigh. Lehigh University. I know them very well because I helped them a little bit. And I talked to the dean, say I want to come here to study. They say, why not come over? So I come over. And I haven't got a GRE. They say, get in first, you take your GRE later. Then that's the reason I went back to study. In a way, if you ask me, is a career setback? Yes, I think if you look back at this age, at that time I'm young, I never think of, if my parents there or if someone advised me you should go to Thailand because it's a career for you. And the Asian people scratch their head. The director say, what's wrong with this guy? Right? But I never, you can tell right by now, I don't really care too much of my career. Right?
Okay, after Thailand, you worked in Japan, right?
Oh, that's after that. I went to Lehigh and I find electrical engineering very boring because after listening, after you've been back, look at this guy talking about things about 20 years ago. I get very bored, nothing to learn. So I switched field. I changed to computer science, different department. So I changed to computer science, and then after computer science, I finished a PhD in computer science. Finished a qualified PhD, master in computer science, and lo and behold, I got a letter from Japan, invitation say invite me to do research over there. Japan during that time is heyday, top. Right? Try to come. They came in. They bought Rockefeller, Pebble Beach. They create this culture of buying expensive painting. Van Gogh, Sunflower. They set up a $90 million. Japanese at that time to set up the record. Now become a competition. They are the one who set it up at that time. And I just got married. I told my wife, you want to extend the honeymoon in Tokyo or not? Why not? So we went there. And there was Japan that time a heyday. So there's a lab called, Japan called MITI, about MITI. You're familiar with that, right? So Japan has this 10 years long project, 10-year long film. They are very long term. So at that time they look at steel, 10 years plan. They look at car, automobile, 10 years plan. They look at consumer TV, 10 years plan. And at that time they had no computer science. Now you think Japan is very strong, at that time nothing. So they have this 10-year plan of supercomputing, AI, artificial intelligence. They set a 10 years plan. And then it's $1 billion project in the 80s. And then Tristan Arm, the big A manufacturing, say, send a kid, 33 years old, come here to work for a country for 10 years. They do, actually. So I went to Japan for a couple of years.
Was that the ICOT?
ICOT.
Oh, ICOT. Yeah. Can you explain to us a little bit more about that?
So ICOT is this a $1 billion, 10 years long project? Have 300 or 400 the brightest kids in Japan sent by Kaisha. Sent by Kaisha means the company, corporation. The brightest kid in Japan is not for a university, actually work for a company. It's a different thing. And they focus on a project to basically using AI, artificial intelligence. We're talking about AI now, right? They're much advanced at that time. And they do 10 years, they do supercomputing, massive parallel computing, all kind of cool stuff. The kid will love it. A lot of toys, there's tons of money. And the culture is very long Japanese. At that time, they hate being labeled a copycat. So they reverse, they don't copy US anymore. They copy Europe, big mistakes. Okay, Actually, at that time you copy whatever AI, you will fail anyway. US at that time, we call it symbolic processing, symbols, AI symbolic processing, logic, symbolic processing, MIT, Stanford, all these things. Expert system, that's a US style. And Europe, there's a reverse. Europe, there's something called deductive reasoning. You probably don't understand. It's a logic. It's deductive logic, and then they do. Someone out there? Yeah. Oh yeah, you can get my laptop. Go ahead. They started a new project, massive parallel computing, doing from the chip onward to the operating system to software using logic programming concept. And that's what I do for 10 years. They are very dedicated. I'm very impressed with the dedication of Japanese when they set the goal. It's amazing. Unfortunately, the whole world changed direction by the time the project finished. Computers change very fast. But yeah, I had a good time in Tokyo. Actually, you think about Tokyo very cluster, all these things, not true. I live in an area like suburb, in the middle of the Tokyo. Okay, Tokyo is an old town by 22 cities, old town together. So I live in areas no high rise. It's just all the 2-3 story mansion type of thing. You feel that you're in the suburb, very nice, very quiet, no high rise building. Enjoy a lot, make a lot of friends, and learn a lot about Japanese culture and also the way they do business. I still have a lot of friends in Japan right now. In fact, that project, America say it failed, but in reality, in those 10 years, they trained about 500 or 600 people like me, and half of them actually, after their freedom, that project is using US style, freestyle research. It's not a top-down Japanese boring research. It's really freestyle talk, all these things, open area. So a lot of them have a freedom. They decided not to go back to the Kaisha. They went to Hebei University, forming a lot of computer science department. Actually, a lot of them started from that group. So in terms of infrastructure, if you ask me whether spend $1 billion worth it, I think it's worth it. It's create a whole generation. That's very, very variable. So I have a good experience. I came back, the reason is my son is about to give birth. And I don't think Tokyo is a good place to stay forever. They love me to stay. I actually got an offer. And the funny thing is, I was there for 2 years. The second year, the market collapsed. I saw the peak and the bottom. But still a lot of job for me for some reason. There's a lot of job. Sony, Toshiba, Hitachi, they all have job for me. But we decided to come back here. And my wife, family is here, they're from Virginia Beach. That's the reason we decided to came back here. And the funny thing at that time, I'm from Hong Kong, right? So Hong Kong at that time had 3 universities. I got offer for all 3 universities: University of Hong Kong, Hong Kong Chinese U, and Hong Kong UST. They all could give me very good offer, wonderful offer, and I should go back actually. But it's too late. At that time, I'm very eager doing research, and I feel Hong Kong is very business-like. So they give actually higher salary than me. So I went back. Actually, I never applied job in US. By the way, I never applied job I only applied job when I first graduated. Afterwards, it just happened accidentally. You will see a lot when you're in your career. You'll see a lot. You never apply jobs. I don't even have a CV, proper CV. Only academic CV. You ask me if I have a CV, I don't have any job CV. Academic CV because we need to renew every year. So I just stopped over to one of friend of mine in NSF. So I went to Japan also under auspice of National Science Foundation. That time they have a Japan program. I was chosen. They also supplement some fellowship for me. So the program director asked me to stop by UCSF, give a talk, and lo and behold, I give a talk at UCSF, and the chairman of the radiology, the dean, says, "Steve, I want you." And I say I know nothing about medicine. I really know nothing about medicine. I'm interested in medicine. My wife, when I give birth, has some complication. I start feel very helpless. So I want to learn a little bit more about medicine. So I'm interested. But I told So I have about 5 offers already.
Yeah.
And say how long I can wait. He said 3 months. So I set a record, the fastest faculty hire in UCSF. I said the dean told me we went through 7 committees in 3 months. The dean pushed it all the way through. The dean and the chairman went way through. So I joined UCSF.
Okay.
That's why accidental. Well, it wasn't planned. I saw at the time I also want to go back to Hong Kong already. It's a very good, very good offer, attractive, and in the high side, I should go back. It's too late anyway. Life is like that. You move on. Yeah.
Was adjusting to UCS or working at UCSF and Tokyo as well both easy for you?
Fit right in.
Yeah.
Especially in San Francisco, you feel you're a majority. You don't feel you're a minority at all.
Yeah.
So UCSF is a great place. I enjoy UCSF. We build a system. They want me build help them to build the, you know the radiology now they're using computer to look at the image. We built the first one in the country called PACS, Picture Icon Communication System. That's how we build it. Yeah, that's the reason they need people like me, a computer guy, know all these things, how to link them together, network together, how to share information. Now it become nothing. By that time, every board have a stack of film and taking out in the X-ray film. That's the old days.
Yeah.
We just fully automate the whole process. It's quite fun. Yeah.
I also see that you contributed to like other universities, like centers as well, like Harvard's Functional Molecular Imaging Center.
Oh,
Yeah.
you jump a little bit.
After
After UCSF, my second kid born. UCSF is great, but they are very cheap. They don't pay well. Living in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I mean, I love research, but I can't let my family suffer. So I decided to find a job. So and Philip offered me a job. I had not decided; just came and talked to me. Being a big place like UCSF, you work with a lot of vendors. They always say, "Hey, you want to come and work with?" So so they created a multimedia center at Aristotero in Palo Alto. Philip want a presence in. Philip's an old Dutch company. They want a presence in Silicon Valley, and basically multimedia chip. It's nothing to do with medicine. Okay, it's my other background, hardware, chip design. So I know I go there, and at the same time, UCSF chairman worry about this guy build the system, it disappear, whatever the system. So surprisingly, they allow me to stay to a half-time position. Why mean half-time means that half-time you are bona fide faculty of a Senate. You can supervise PhD student. You can get grant in your lab. In fact, I'm running UCSF for 10 years, officially, but only 3 years full-time, 7 years out. I got 2 jobs. And until later on, the PAC system become commercial, they don't need me. But I still running a lab, I still a lot of students there. I mean, I still running a lab. No one know I left, but actually full-time working in Philip. The problem is after working with Philip for a while, the judge figured out I know medicine. At that time, the medical system headquarters is in Best, Amsterdam, around the area in Holland. So they shipped me over there. So I went there. My family decided not to live in Holland. I mean, it's no point right? You San Francisco, why you want to go in somewhere? And then not even Amsterdam, in Best, some of the now you go to Lemberg or something far away, you know. And they decided in San Francisco. I travel a lot, both sides. At that time, Philip's a medicine for a while. Yeah, over Europe for a couple of years, quite fun. Yeah. So and after that, you ask your question, why go to France? So before that, I got tired. I saw one problem, and it's a story. It's a real story. I saw the major problem of France, and originally it's supposed to 1-2 days. It's not even my job. I try to help, and go there. I solve the problem. The French people locked me in for 6 weeks until I solved everything. By the time I came back, and my younger daughter looked at me, opened the door and cried and run back. I said, forget it. I want a new job. So I sent an email out to Stanford alumni. I'm an executive program MBA at Stanford Business School. So we're an alumni network. I say I want a job, conditions, no travel. And lo and behold, someone sent an email say he needs someone to build a website. Oh, you build a website, Chuck. I say, well, I know nothing about finance though. He said, no problem. You know how to build a website, right? That's easy, piece of cakes. That's the reason I went to work for Charles Schwab. Chuck is Charles Schwab himself. He's an MBA graduate from Stanford. He's a level. So I ended up to be a stockbroker for a while. And then quite a good experience. I enjoyed. That's completely unplanned, accidental. Look back, if you ask me, I shouldn't do that, but having fun, actually, having fun though. So I do that for 2 years, and then .com came, the .com bus showed up, and everybody don't know what to do. I feel I keep on laying off people. I get tired. And you're the guy, you're the manager. You don't need to lay off people. You lay people off. There's not a good feeling. And I decided went back to academia. So that's the reason my second career. I told Chuck, say, you don't need me. So I went back to back to medicine. I still think I enjoy doing what I learned to medicine more rewarding. So I went back in I consider the second half of my career. So I went back to Harvard to be a professor. That's why I started Harvard.
Okay.
Yeah. In fact, it's a funny story again. Is because remember I still had lab in UCSF. So I used to show up, and the dean called me up and say, Steve, I heard that you want to come back to academia. I have a job for you, right? And again, the same story. And he say, well, but I told him I know nothing about genomic. I know nothing about Alzheimer's. He said, no problem. Come here, we'll figure out. He was the chancellor at UCSF. He still remember me. I built the PACS for UCSF. So remember, do good work, people remember you, even you're over 10 years. The world is very small. And that's why I went to Harvard. And originally is go to this Fidelity, that time give a big chunk of money to Harvard to do neurodegeneration, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis. I'm the head guy doing all this bioinformatics, which I know nothing about. Reality is it's funny. They should hire an expert. They hire someone I don't know. They have nothing in charge of it. It's quite fun. I learned a lot, and this is a good project because it work in 22 hospitals together, all the people. I enjoy a lot of the experience. Pretty much I know every neuroscientist, neurologist, neurosurgeon at Harvard system at that time. It's a good system. And then the Brigham women, this guy knows that I know imaging, and the chairman pulled me in halftime to help them to build the cyclotron. There's a molecular imaging. The downstairs came in the imaging center. That's exactly the same copy I made there when I came here. That's why I built a cyclotron, MR center, all these things for them. Yeah.
And then, how out of all the countries that you've worked in, like Japan, Singapore, U.S., Australia, do you think you would have like a favorite country that you've worked it with?
It's hard to say. A lot of people ask that question. I don't think it's a right or wrong answer. I think US still the best if you ask me. Okay, I enjoy US best. I came back the third time I came back to this country, so you can tell I see the best. US is very open. I think reality, you no matter it's not fair, no fair world out there, but relatively, it's still a relatively open system. I think it's one of the few country embrace immigrants compared to other country. Now the other country is not bad actually. I think all of them are very good. Once you know how to speak the language, well, you're able to speak a language, you start feeling the society. Every society, I saw it's not in the war zone. I mean, you're okay. Every project, a lot of people have fun. I enjoy life. So, if you ask me, I will still pick US to stay. And the second choice maybe go back to Asia, Southeast Asia somewhere. That's all it is. And Australia is not bad, but maybe Australia maybe also. Actually, they all very good. Actually.
And then, how did you move to Houston?
Oh, it's also accidental. Remember, people call you up, right? Some friend of mine I work with, collaborator. He's the head of radiology at NIH. And he called me up, Steve, I'm moving down Houston, I want to create a new department of radiology, would you like to join me? And I said, why not? Quite fun actually. Sounds very good, all this, they came down here, we like it here. And I first came in as a vice chair of radiology, we started a new department and all this thing. And we get this cyclotron going, all this thing, and that's why I came down. Yeah. But he left after 5 years.
Oh.
I'm in research lab now. Yeah.
Going back to the very beginning of this interview, when you talked about how like the riots in Hong Kong like made an impact on you, what kind of impact did it leave you?
There are a couple of things. I think if you ask me, I think the education, especially the secondary education, what you mold in your personality. I think the priests actually make an impact. These priests are missionary. All these are foreign priests. None of them are Chinese. A lot of them, in fact, some of them are kicked down from the old days from the mainland China. Kick them down. They came to Asia at the age of teenagers. Some of them, they're Irish, they're Italian, they're British, they're Bulgarian, whatever. And one thing is there are a couple of ways. I think the Catholic or Jesuit Salesian type of education imprint on me is a principle in life that you have a baseline and you need to. It's not worth to sacrifice your principle in life to get something back, and that's a value system very important. The other way they give it to me is the empathy and the contribution back. I think that is something that if you look at them, think about it. A person outside the country, not in your culture, they transplant themselves, came here, dedicate their whole life. Some of them, they all die in Asia. Okay, this type of commitment. Nowadays, people look at this stupid, right? Why do you want to do that? But they do it. They're educated people. They are very talented. They are not dumb. A lot of them have PhD. Some of them actually, and they can easily make money elsewhere. They choose this career, come to a foreign country, dedicate themselves to the belief they believe in. So I think the implant on me is believe in something and persistent to do it with value. I think this is something that's very good. I think this is the lasting value. Is to your principle in life. It's hard to say. It's maybe shaping your character. I think they do. I mean, that part. A lot of nowadays, a lot of people, unfortunately, we are measured too much in materialistic world. It's important. Don't get me wrong, but just like coastal triangle, when you reach a certain level, you're looking for something else. If you're still looking for basic need, I think it's sad. I mean that you're still in that circle, and we should be able. In the Bible, always say that God give you more, right? It's something I paraphrase in a way. Pretty much, you say that for those who given more, you should give that more. It's a return. So I think that has a lot of impact on me. This is the emotional part because that's not rational part. That's when you are teenager. Is a time that we form a character. It's a huge impact. I'm glad that my parents sent me to a Catholic school. They really do something good actually. It's not that bad as people say. And also in the college, continuation. I think and also is the best thing. People talk the talk, right? They walk the walk. You see their lives dedicated. They are not just talking it. They actually do it. So that's a lot of impact on me. Maybe that's influenced me. Think about. A lot of my friends think I'm stupid, come back here. I have a 15% pay cut when I come here, come to Canberra Academia. So my wife's happy. My wife's okay. They say we're not starving. In fact, we have overweight problem, so it's not an issue. Right? So it's important. I think, unfortunately, I think people here, the culture is getting win-win-win. American cultures tend to be very performance-driven. We measure. We love to measure. We love the ranking. We love the measurement because we want to see success. This is our American culture, and sometimes maybe you need a balance. Because at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself what you like. It's not what other people think of you, right? So able to answer to what you want and do it. I think that is not easy, but I think they're driven it a lot. This is a very blessed country, by the way. I've been around. I see rich country, poor country. I mean, America is really blessed. A lot of resources, stable. No matter what you complain, all these things, it's still very stable, very safe, and also very good quality of living. Yeah, compared to if you go outside, compared to other. I mean, I've been in Philippines. I've been in other part of the Asia country. I mean, you see a comparison a lot. I'm also in China also. During Cultural Revolution period, I was there a couple of months because my grandmother was sick. You want to see, Chinese want to see the elders, whatever grandson. So I show up. I took half a year off for the school. And in fact, I have a 1-year job because of that. But at that time, I didn't know they were young. 1969. This is at the trail end. It's Cultural Revolution and started in 1966, hit up to 69. And I was lucky to see that. And go back and see a lot of things that you shouldn't see. And so it's good experience, good bad experience. But I think overall, life is tough, but I think in this country we are blessed. I think I'm glad that I'm in a position right now. I can do what I like. Sometimes too much people don't like it, but that's really our academic, right? You try to contribute back what we have been, what society is giving us. I think this is a blessing. Able to give is a blessing. Yeah, so that's my belief. So implant is really the education, the principle in life, the way to give it back. The giving back not in the sense that is part of your whole total value system, not just sake for giving back. Chinese like to give anonymously. This is our culture. I think I like the culture better. Yeah. Anyway, this is what I think the Hong Kong education gave it to me. I give a couple years ago. I went back my old school, 150 years old school, and I gave I was an honored guest to give a speech day. I deliver a similar message to the group. Is the life is what you make to, and you answer to yourself, and have empathy on the way. That's all it is. And failure is good. I mean, failure is tough. No one likes to fail, but every lesson you learn something. Depends how you look at it. Okay, it's easy to say when you're a failure, it's tough. I don't know, it's tough. Life is tough, but look, in life is very simple. If you know I'm not being pessimistic, but if you know your life in the earth is only that time, say, you can walk it back, and you can prioritize your life very easily. What's important, not important, right? Anyway. That's just too serious look. Yeah.
So, did you feel any pressure from your parents when you decided to convert, since they were both Buddhists?
My father doesn't care, really. Didn't care much. My mother did. Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Did she try to stop you, or?
Try, yeah. Yeah, I'm a quite rebellious type when I was young, so I did that anyway. So yeah. Well, after all, they want to send me to Catholic school. Yeah. Yeah, it's just, but I still believe. I mean, remember, Buddhism is not religion. Buddhism is a philosophy. It's philosophy of life, right? In fact, if you look at it, all the Eastern major religions are not religions. All philosophy in life. Confucianism, Taoism, Buddhism. They never claim they are God. They never came away. They just say this is the way of living. And then the Western philosophy, Western religion is a meditation religion. They mean from top down. Right? If you look at the major Western religions, It's really come from Judaism. Judaism spread out Catholic, Orthodox, Christianity mostly. But the beginning there's a God. These are premises. Very different. It's very interesting if you look at the East and West religions. Eastern religions is a man seek God. This reason we better ourselves. We look at this monk. They go to the forest to meditate. All these things. Try to and Western religion pretty much is God sees man. It's a very different philosophy. Yeah.
Can you talk more about what made you interested in medicine? I think you
In
mentioned
what?
some medicine. I think
Yeah.
you mentioned something about your wife.
Yeah, my wife some complication giving the first birth, my son, and then I feel very hopeless. I was a very confident person. I thought I know everything. Then suddenly I realized I know nothing. This area I know nothing. I better know something. So the best thing is just go to the medical school. That's why I want to know some culture. So when to live in the country, that's what I do. And I want to know this field. I go to study. What's the best? Go to a faculty in the medical, the best medical school. That's where you learn a lot, right? Instead of studying, I normally work. So the best thing to learn is work on the project, not studying. Yeah, solve the problem. Then in the process you learn. That's the best way to learn. Didactic type of learning is it's a necessary evil because there's resource limited. You don't set up that way. You have a choice. Pick up a project, find someone interesting whether to work with you. You learn a lot. I learn a lot of projects. Most of my learning is from doing, solving a problem, doing a project. That's the best education. And that's reason the education is lifelong. When people say lifelong education, for that reason. Not because you get your PhD, your MD, and then you stop learning. Right? The PhD, MD, or this is the basic entry criteria that society recognizes you as a credential. But life is so much we don't know. You keep learning. So I enjoy learning. So that's the reason I came back to academia, learning, doing research. Yeah.
How was your experience teaching others as a professor at Baylor and at Rice?
I don't teach them much these days. I used to teach a lot when I was UCSF and even at Harvard a little bit. I taught at UC Berkeley, Stanford, UCSF. I enjoy teaching. In fact, some of the students better than me in terms of getting research grants these days. Some of them actually richer than me. Some of them become an IPO or this thing. So it's a mixture. This is also part of learning. The best learning is teaching people. Yeah. When I was at Bell Lab, there's a guy called Hamming. You probably don't know. He's the error correcting code. All this encryption code. All these things. He's the father of that. Okay. But everybody's father at that time. Everybody's nothing. We eat at a table, and then you say, and at that time he's very famous already. Who cares? Everybody's famous. So I talked to him and say, yeah. He told me something very very nicely. He said the best thing he want to learn something, he write a book. Yeah, and then he write a book and learn a lot. And so for me, teaching people, first of all, is rewarding. Okay, but secondly, actually you benefit yourself. I always believe that able to give. Remember, able. If you are not able, don't try. Able to give, but itself is a blessing, and you will reward by your giving. Right? Yeah. So I always find teaching. I learn a lot from my student, my postdoc, even my faculty. I learn a lot of them. So they are brighter than me. And in fact, a lot of them is actually much better than me right now these days. I'm very happy. Yeah.
What do you find most rewarding about doing research?
Oh, real research able to explore unknown itself. I mean, there are two types of research. So I started my career as an engineer. So it's engineering research. Engineering research is very different from scientific research. When I joined Harvard, the dean announced me to the faculty. I'm a hybrid scientist. Harvard, a whole bunch of scientists, right? hybrid scientist. What I mean is, engineers tend to be will do research in engineering, but engineering is more like building a product, building a mouse, building a computer, building a car, automatic car. This is type of research is more applied science, right? And the scientific research, and nowadays actually I'm more and more becoming a scientist more. In a way you can argue that you are from trade promoter to art, depending how you say it. Okay, be careful what engineers think. So I'm more interested in knowing something that discover something that is rewarding itself, and so I always enjoy. But I'm also very pragmatic engineering at heart. After knowing it, I want to apply it. And that's why I'm interested. I think able to be a first one discover something itself is a reward on its own. No, once you graduate, you understand what I mean. Why don't you try to finish your exam? I mean, forget about exam. I never care about exam actually, not too much. And yeah, exam is testing your own knowledge, and even if your ability to discover something new, ability to find something that no one knows, and in depth actually is quite interesting. The nature has a lot of things. Besides the nature, human nature, even the physical nature, all life, all these things, it's rewarding in terms of able to do research, discovering something new, being the first one who discover it, and also the first one who make it working or helping other people. I think its intrinsic value is very high. Of course, the extrinsic value come with it. If you are entrepreneurial mind, there's different set of things. But I will enjoy it. I think a lot of people do research. I think they do that. Unfortunately, the more and more I see in a lot of countries, research become a job. Unfortunately, it's good. I mean, you need a job to have secure income. Remember, scientists wasn't paid until recently, right? I mean, old days, you know, Pascal, all these people, because some rich people say, hey, you're very smart, and so I give you money, you do something for me, like Beethoven, all these things, right? Remember, artists. There's no professional. Now we turn into professional. The government decided your value, social value, because you create something, you find something, we can apply this knowledge to create some product that can have economic feedback to the society and can feed you. So science has become a job, and the more and more so take away the fun of it. Sometimes. Yeah.
So research is, from what I see of it, is really repetitive, and there's a lot of, or like just doing experiments, right? But
well, every value is different, or how can be repetitive?
oh, okay. I mean, just there's a lot of failure that can happen in your journey to like finding something.
Sure.
So how do you deal with those moments?
Just deal with it. That's life, right? And that's all, right? It's, you cannot be lucky. Sometimes you spend your whole life you fail. Fine, you tough luck. Remember, luck is very important in life. You cannot be say I want to be successful, work hard, smart. You will be successful. I mean, I'm sure the 1,000 people as bright as Jeff Bezos. I mean, he's the only guy who actually make it, right? And so, in fact, I have a funny story. Is when you know Facebook, right? So when in USS, before I decided went to Harvard, Silicon Valley, US VP, one of the first year VP, they talked to me. They asked, they have this startup company, a whole bunch of young kids, bright, Harvard, all kind of thing, 20-something years old, and they working on a project, and they want to do something. I don't know what they do. They want to do computer, network, all this thing, and they interview me. You know, it's funny, just like you guys interview me. and that time I talked to them. I give them an idea exactly what Facebook is about. Yeah, and that time they love it. The VC love it, and That's the 2001. About the Facebook guy started the idea. So the story is that we are now information so widespread, and in fact everybody has almost equal ground. If your idea in the area, everybody has the idea. I have the idea also, and they gave me an offer actually, and I didn't take it. I went to Charles Schwab. It's one of the big mistakes actually across the. I don't know if I take it, probably just another company competing with Facebook and fail. I don't know. We'll never know. But my point is, I really say idea is cheap. It's hard to say, but idea is really cheap. Now the information so explosion, and easy to get. Smart people everywhere, everybody educated, and you have good idea. Good idea is a dime a dozen. How to turn your good idea into a realized in a product that become a Amazon, become Facebook. That is a long process. That require persistent creativity, all kind of things. It's not easy to do. That's not just you work hard. That require a lot of luck. Yeah, sometimes it's quite interesting actually. I still yeah. At that time maybe I should just join the startup company instead of working for a stockbroker. But anyway, the life is like that. Yeah, so yeah, it's interesting. I never think of it. You think about the questions. Yeah.
So can you talk about some of the community organizations that you're involved in?
Quite deep. I did a lot in the past. I did a lot with my church. Yeah, I did a lot of church. I was a choir leader. I was a translator. And since I speak multilingual, I involve a lot of Chinese church. There are a lot of immigrants. They cover different dialect. I help them. I do a translation. In fact, I was a president of Bible study group at the graduate school in Lehigh, and also the president for the whole graduate Steel Council of Lehigh, besides Bible study group, the whole graduate school, engineering graduate school, and over the time I get less involved in community like this type, but I give a lot of free time when people ask for help. So I consulting. I quite a number of non-profit board, non-profit organization. I'm helping as advisor, free of charge. Sometimes I pay my money to go there. Enjoy it. I'm on Rise. Rise, you have a Lily. I was on the advisory board, free. And I find it's interesting. It's good to have. I don't know why all of them are business guy. I don't know why they call me up, academic guy. In fact, I'm the only Chinese there, besides Frank Liu. And I help them. I involve this type of community. And I also a lot of community of a university. I was on the advisory board of UT Health, all these things. This is not for career. At my age, by now you can figure out I don't really care about my career. So I just involved because I think it's enjoyable. And I don't take too much for profit board startup all these things because I was there, involved there. They are different thinking. I'm on AMA. Some of the American Medical Association create a venture actually, a digital health venture, and I'm on the advisory board. I told them the time I talk to you as a consultant, as advisory. Actually, I'm losing money because you pay me less than half what I earn even here. This is low enough already. But I think it's good to do it because I think this country, I believe the digital health will transform the country. A lot of noise, a lot of people talk about innovation, all these things. A lot of print lip service, and not many people really make it happen. And I'm out there, I see what things happen really. So I like to be involved and give advice. Especially AMA is a very influential type of organization. So I make sure that my voice, they may ignore my voice, but anyway, I'm part of it. I can voice my concern. It's fine, and give them some advice on there. So as I say, my limited contribution is based on my limited knowledge. I contribute out that way. In expertise, mostly in the non-profit world. Actually, In fact, I do a lot of free consultation and research review for European, Canada, Mexico, Asian country. A lot of time. Sometimes I take my own airfare to go there. Yeah, so there's the part I think I enjoy doing that. Actually, I think about it, I should start more community work. But I think when you're getting older, you tend to be more focused. So right now I'm less involved as before. I used to do a lot. Yeah.
So what else do you do in your free time?
Free time. Do I have any free time? What do you mean by free time actually?
When you're not working?
For me, this is not work though. It's huge different. For me, this is life. For me, I look at it as a life. I don't consider it as work. Well, my friend, my wife my wife take away a lot of my time, and her 3 dogs also. And sometimes we go to church sometime. I'm at church time a little bit. Friend traveling. I do a lot of reading. I have a very good gym class, gym group. We went to gym. People at my age, okay, not your age. At least at the same level of metabolic thing. We went to gym class a little bit. I play a lot of tennis. I'm a level 4.5 player, used to be. Yeah, and I used to play a lot of squash. Nowadays cannot run further. So now tennis a little bit. Yeah, and it's pretty much life is. But I think I read a lot. I enjoy reading. Reading not acquire knowledge. I just enjoy it. Reading not for the sake of reading only, not for the sake of getting something out of it. For me, a good book is a conversation with the author, in regardless of space and time. The person may be 1,000 years old. So all my book I cannot resell it because I put all the note there. It's all dirty, all kind of things. It's a conversation. For me, reading a book, I enjoy reading a book, and for me it's enjoyment to talk to someone that through the book. Good book though, a lot of junk book. Unfortunately, a lot of books published these days are junk book. Yeah, especially business book. I read a lot of business book, by the way. Very few good business book. Yeah. Business is a modern art of philosophy. You know the whole idea of philosophy MBA. If you know Peter Drucker, right? You don't know. Don't worry. He's a journalist. He basically practically created the whole MBA philosophy. Yeah, he's a Jewish guy in Austria. Came to this country. He passed away about 10 years ago. But he practically put some scientific rigor into MBA, into business school. In the past, people look at business school, just a whole bunch of people talk about business. No, he sublimed it into more scientific academic discipline. So I like reading. I do exercise. I play tennis. I go to church. Very boring. That's all it is. With my family. That's all.
How did you meet your wife?
Oh, I met her in a conference, in a Christian conference. In Washington D.C. there's a university for the underprivileged called Goddard. You never heard of it? It's for the deaf and dumb people. So one year we there's a conference there, and I went there. Actually, I was in Pennsylvania studying at that time. I went back. She from Virginia. We just happened to meet in the workshop and then continue. So half of my time in my PhD I don't even study. I just went back to. I drive around Virginia all the time. Anyway, so that's why I met my wife in a Christian conference. Yeah. It's a long time, 1987. It's a long time. Kind of love at first sight. It's going. My professor complaining. I'm lucky. I went back to Lehigh. Also, National Science Foundation gave me a fellowship, so I don't need on people's stipend. I have my own money. I do whatever I like. I enjoy that lifestyle, so I travel a lot. I finished my PhD in 2 years, very short time. Yeah, so because I didn't get married, so I told my professor I want to get married, I want to graduate and done. And then went to Japan. That's all it is. So yeah. It's life is a lot of unexpected culture. Everybody have a story. You can meet together. It's quite fun. Yeah, my wife and I came from the same culture. She's from Hong Kong. In fact, we are the same year of high school, same year graduation. But the difference is, after her high school graduation, they immigrate to the United States. I went over the places, so that's obvious. But we came the same year, so you somehow meet someone with your same culture, same belief, same click, common language. It clicks. That's all it is. Yeah.
So how did you balance your work life and your family life?
I told you, family life.
Especially with your kids growing up.
Oh, I'm not that busy. I mean, come on, even in academic life, you work hard, but you have better control in your life. Right? As long as your funding is strong. Otherwise, I mean, you practically have no boss. Right? Academic one advantage is if you don't want to play politics, you have funding, you lock your door like this, you do your own thing, fine, go home. If you want to do more, then you get involved with fighting, all this thing. It's your choice. I still think academic research life is one of the best profession. The money may not be as good, to be fair, okay? If you want money, and I was out there, money is much better. But you're not starving. And end of the day, it depend what make you financially secure. I think in this country, everybody, if you ask this teenager, I think maybe ask your guys. Right? You think what you think? I mean, if you're financially secure, what would you do?
If I didn't have to work?
Yeah, you don't have to work. Don't at least don't have to worry too much about the money.
I'd probably paint murals on the walls.
Paint what?
Paint murals on the walls of buildings.
Painting on the
Yeah.
graffiti? No.
Not graffiti, I mean,
like
kind of.
the large artwork.
That's a mural. Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's good. That's interesting. How about you?
I really want to travel,
Huh?
travel the world, but
Okay. Well, travel after a while you get bored, right? Traveling actually, my personal experience. Travel don't let you see the world. You need to live there. That's the reason.
That's true.
That's why every time I change, my wife is complaining. So we got married, and finally say, "Don't go anywhere." So I stay here. Since you married to me, we went to Japan, and then go to California, and then go to Boston, and then come down here finally. And here we settle down, and research is more focused. But it's good. Everybody in life. I think a lot of your generation, especially you're in a capitalist country, the most important you want to be financially secure.
Yeah.
Don't undermine it. You have all these ideas, but financial security I think is very important. Depends how financial secure you are, right? You can drive in Rolls Royce, flying in the first class, but decent life, you don't have to worry about a roof at the top. I mean, and then you have a decent living. It's not that hard to achieve. But once you achieve that, you can do a lot of things. Life is short. It's shorter than what you think. Working for money is tough. Well, the best money is inherited, right? The question is, I'm a rebellious guy. I never took money from my parents. Even they want to give it to me, I say turn away. Actually, now I still think about it. But anyway, it doesn't matter, right? You have a way to do it. Everybody live a living. But I think I in a fortunate situation, at least more or less I'm kind of okay. If I don't have a job today, I still can survive. I don't need this job to pay my bill. How's that? It's very important. Once you have that freedom, you can do a lot of things. Okay? And a lot of them we are limited, and also a lot of my financial friends, I still have a lot of contact. mean, if you look at them, I look at them, Jesus, why you want to keep on working? They're $100 million worth. They say, Steve, I have a bungalow in South Beach. I have a yacht over there. My wife, my kid. I mean, I just look at it, right? I mean, they say you're lucky. You come here to do research, do what you like. I say you can if you want a pay cut, and no one show up. It's a choice. I mean, in a lifestyle. In fact, 2 days ago, you see the big news of a Harvard professor
No, I haven't.
was got arrested. You know that?
No, what happened?
Yeah, one of the department chairman of the. Don't call me in there, but just a side issue. I actually a friend of mine. I collaborate with him. He's at Harvard. He's a chairman of the he's a top chemist, literally top, ranked #1 in citation. Okay, and he's a chairman of chemistry. He got arrested by FBI because he has some. He's an electronic guy. He has some connection with China. He has a lab over there. Chinese give them, this Chinese American thing nowadays is very sensitive. And he lied to the Defense Department, say he don't have it. In fact, it's passed, and they arrest him. And then now he's on administrative leave. He's a top in the hill. He's a National Academy member and all kind of thing. Yeah. And I know he's already rich, by the way. He's 10 times richer than me. I'm not rich at all. He's 100 times richer than me. He had a couple of companies start up. I scratch my head. Chinese giving a couple $1 million, $4 or $5 million for me, pocket. Worth it? Well, you may look at lumber. This guy is rich. He has startup, all kind of thing. I just don't understand. I scratch my head. Why? Why you want to do that? I mean, at least if FBI told me, say you get money from China, say yes, I return the money to you. I didn't know that I cannot take it. He can afford it, right? Now he's completely ruined his career. He's my age actually, just my age. He's have a lot of future still. He's still young. He still has a lot of growing. Now he's dead. No one touch him. So the knife is a funny thing. You look at it, but financial security is important to reach a certain stand. Your generation, you don't have to worry too much. When you have family, you have a mortgage, you have a wife, a kid. My kid's still going for the tuition at Baylor. Baylor in law. It's expensive, $100,000. Yeah, it's okay. So if you financial secure, you can do what you like. More or less. I think that's very important. I think people need to be pragmatic about it. Unless your family is well off, you can do something else also can. But it's more fun if you fight for yourself and become financially secure. The confidence and the joy is different from inherited. My father is a virgin. I never took any money from him. He spread out to someone else. I never. He has certain style. I don't like it. I never take the money from him. So I'm not that bad off. But I think this is something that you guys think about it. I enjoy my life, and I mean we have all up and down, but more or less I can afford to do this thing. Pretty much I'm relatively okay. I'm not starving, even I don't have this job. Right? Isn't it? Yeah. It's important. Otherwise, you don't want. We are in a materialistic society, so financial burden has certain condition on you. Yeah. You're coming from people from Hong Kong. You should know that. Hong Kong is a very. My generation of Hong Kong people have a can-do spirit, which is missing this generation. When I went back to Hong Kong recently, it completely changed. Can-do spirit means that you set your mind, you can conquer everything. And really, you have to, because in Hong Kong, you don't have anyone look after your shoulder. You're on your own. It's a bare rock, by the way. But the British took it over. It's a bare rock. Built in the financial center, so everybody's on your own. But it's still a rule-based society because the British actually set a very good culture and system over there. It's much better than mainland Chinese. Your parents from mainland Chinese or Taiwan? Mainland, right? Mainland is tough. I think if you look at China today, it's really a new China. It's really started in 1949, only 70 years old history. You don't have the old culture of Chinese because the companies come in, took it over. In fact, the Chinese today, if you think about it, is a completely Western country.
Very westernized.
No, not the way you dress, thinking. Karl Marx is a Westerner. You talk in the communism, the concept is a Western concept, nothing about Chinese coming from there. It's a foreign concept forcibly implanted on China. And completely lost a generation about the old Chinese culture, the Confucianism, Taoism, all this philosophy, all these things. So the thinking is very different. Yeah. But anyway, this is a long. You got born here. You never feel your parents will understand. But it's a big gap, and it was very poor when I was. I still remember when I was young as a kid. You go to store, literally the big stores, only 2 or 3 things there. Very poor, and everybody is nothing. And in the village, people don't need to lock their door. There's nothing to steal. I'm seriously. Now it's changing. Changing. I'll be worried about the long term, but the next generation is much better. I start knowing the younger generation. They become getting back now, the culture, try to get it back. They know this big rock change is, the Cultural Revolution, all this thing has been a lot determining effect on devastating effect on a lot of people. Now the younger generation start picking it up better. I think it's always improving. But remember, China today is a new China. China today is not a China, in a way, in what we think about this thousand history of China. In fact, I venture to say that Taiwan, Hong Kong, Singaporean, probably carry a lot of Chinese culture better than mainland China, the traditional one. And Brits actually leave that alone, right? They come here just want to take money. They don't care about what you do, right? Singaporean, right? Yeah. You have any other questions?
No. So you were talking about how the current, sort of about your friend and how there's more tension between researchers in the US and China, for example.
Yeah, this is very political driven, right? This is kind of a McCarthyism a little bit. Bear in mind, I think US is still a very fair country. So many countries I went through, I think this is still the best country. I really admire the original founder of this country. They really set up the right constitution, although it's eroding a little bit. And in fact, it's dangerous to, don't quote me, US becoming, a danger of becoming ultra imperialism. That's very dangerous, going that way. Remember, we are US successful is make sure people trade, and we also make sure that we are on the top of the food chain during trading. And because of that, based on these premises, you will make sure that other countries are rich enough that they can trade with you, but not create another ecosystem they can compete with you. That's the tension coming along. It's not just China in the past. They don't like, for example, US don't like Germany to united. They don't like EU to be formed. They don't like the Southeast Asia, China strong. Very simple idea, because the whole concept is based on we export our philosophy, we export our way of living, we export our trading to partner. If other people as strong as you create their own ecosystem, suddenly they disrupt the balance of it. Without one fully united, integrated economic system, and then we have a problem. That's the reason why you ask ourselves why Cold War is finished. After post-Cold War, we still have spent so much money in defense. It's nothing to do with Cold War. It's about keeping this ecosystem intact. And that's what the tension. China right now threatening them. Because I'm young, when I was in the 60s, when I was in the primary school, I see bomb everywhere. You walk the street, they bomb, people die in front of you. When you listen to the car bomb, something goes in the window, and then and you can see the cops, all these young kids, they fight each other, red guard. You see the cops without head, without thing, throwing down to the river. It's really a large impact on you. And but that's one, yeah, that's a. I know this is a long history, it's dangerous to say, but anyway. But I think this tension has become an issue here because China is very strong. Chinese are very hardworking. This is a Confucian culture. And under the right leadership, they can move very fast. When they set their mind, they can very fast. Look at them, the recently coronavirus, they built a hospital in 10 days. Think about it.
Yeah.
A hospital in 10 days. We don't even get a phone call in 10 days in this country. How can you compete with that type of productivity? If they want to set their mind, they can do it. The US scale. This generation, in 30 years of United States, I do see the younger generation getting lazier though. Not lazier, it's getting smart lazier. There's difference. In my generation, when I first came to this country, I find a lot of Americans are very proud of their work, are very dedicated. I'm very impressed, they're valued. And they put in hard working. But nowadays, I find the smartest guy try to go to Wall Street and make big bucks faster to secure, financial secure. The philosophy I'm telling you. So people find, but when the country start thinking about get a fast shortcut, and the problem is the smartest guy taking the shortcut. In fact, I think all the brightest guy, not many brightest guys in science and engineering. Compared to when I watch you, I really see a lot of very, very smart guys. But in reality, in finance, you don't need that many smart guys. Finance supposed the idea is create a system to allow people to start innovate, secure system, financial system, build a product company. You don't want to be too creative. You're causing a lot of problems. That's the reason we are prime in 2008 with this problem. But we will see another problem coming up sooner or later, the way it's going. Because these guys, very smart guys, start thinking about how to make money off it. And it's dangerous. So there's a huge difference. I'm worried about this tension. China is really coming. China of course, they have their own problem. It's still a poor country. But I think US government definitely will not like people to challenge. But overall, we are very open because we are very confident. We're the best. You come here to learn. You want to take something back to your country? Go ahead. No, until you start become strong enough to challenge my status quo, and that's what's happening. Within 2 years, China, the GDP total will be equal to the United States. First time in history. Okay? And then there will be a very interesting thing to see. I think this, I don't know, I'm a scientist, I shouldn't talk about political scientists. But this thing will keep going until the system, the United States current system mindset is cannot be a second, cannot be equal sharing. Because we believe that we need to export our idealism, export our trade to the whole world. That definitely we want to maintain one single economic system. And this is just pure economic point of view. You guys figure out you have plenty of time. I think that so far the system is still fair. I mean, if you go by you play by the rule, I think you should not get into trouble. But at the same time means that the atmosphere is not helping you to move forward, and that is some concern actually. I would say some concern. I won't too idealistic. Let's see what happens over time. You know, a lot of scientists have become very careful these days. Yeah. In the old days, science is the problem. Is the science culture is supposed to be very open. After all, science has no boundary. You know the term, right? We are talking about nature, about cure disease. Why should the boundary? This is owned by US. This doesn't make any sense, right? But nowadays, unfortunately, all our scientific discovery can turn into economic value, or even military power. Then it become a concern for the country, right? For Chinese origin. The problem is they indiscriminately look at you all Chinese. They don't think about you overseas Chinese, American Chinese, or really communist Chinese or Taiwanese Chinese. They're all Chinese origin. That's a concern, and in reality, to be, it's also the problem of the United States is they moved half of the people from. If you look at the graduate school today in the science, in fact, half of them are Chinese probably, right? In science field, people then they go back to the American system. You should ask them, ask the leader, you are the one who created the situation, because you want the brightest kid in this field, you don't pay people. If you want the brightest kid, local people, why should I go to this field? I go to finance, I go to investment banking. My son studied law, by the way. I mean, he's a science major, he got top honor in Austin. He said, why should I get a grant writing it? So end up you become a lot of foreigners, right? When you want to come to the country, I'm different, I'm kind of willingly come back here. I'm still, but it's fine. The other people, they come here, they have no connection, they have no network, they don't even graduate from United University, and they're bright, and they work hard, they get right grant, they can do research. You end up, the workforce is from there, and they don't pay well, relatively, okay? If they're intelligent, the same people, Chinese people, if a chance go back, they probably won't do the same job, they become other entrepreneurial businessmen, all these things, it's a condition. So the one thing to avoid this problem, complaining is a dilemma, right? It's not good, these are restrict you. At the same time, all the US workforce, half of them are IC, right? Indian and Chinese, IC stand for, okay? So what do you do with it? Well, the Chinese part is growing, they have a choice. Suddenly you scale. But the only thing you can avoid, get more local American, Caucasian, Indian, Hispanic, increase the compensation to the scientists. This is a simple solution. Are they willing? It's very simple. This country is driven by money, right? You double the salary, you see everybody show up. All the bright kids show up. I mean, when I first came to this country, a lot of people still doing American. In Belgium, in fact, very few Asians, very few Chinese. And also, if you look at the academic, now you have foreign-speaking people with accent teaching your kids, right? It's very simple. You ask yourself, you pay them well, the professor well. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Americans will show up. If you go to Hong Kong, all graduate students from mainland China, Hong Kong people don't want to study graduate school. Why you want to do that? Same thing, right? If you pay well, you get it. You just have to change the system. I think they need to increase the research funding. If you're a guy bilingual, right? Yeah. I always get my kids to speak Mandarin, we cannot. Bilingual is advantageous, actually, I think.
Yeah, I'm studying Chinese right now to improve my Chinese.
Bilingual, I think Mandarin is essential, I think. Mandarin, in Southeast Asia, you speak Cantonese, or Fujianese will be good. It's a different culture. But when I was in Europe, I speak in Holland, right? Dutch people, average, speak 4 languages up to university, right? So they can survive. I think the language is very important. I see a lot of opportunity in Pacific. That's all it is. I mean, it's definitely growing, the area. You cannot stop. Right? You try to stop, it's hard. I don't see what happened. No one knows.
So, what do you think your greatest accomplishment has been?
Oh, so far none yet.
So far, what do you think?
I haven't died yet, so how do I know?
Or is something that you're really proud of?
Not too much actually, in reality. So, if we are talking about work, I do quite a bit. I change fields so often, people forget what I'm doing anyway. But I do help. I'm lucky. I built the first printjet project in the world. I built the first. I was a team, not I'm part of the major team. Only a few people, major team. Also, I was involved building the first real-side chips, 1 megabyte chip DRAM in the world. I also helped to build the first PAC system, digital radiology imaging system in the world. I also built the largest massive parallel database in the world. And I helped Harvard build the first cyclotron, Brigham. I set it up, the molecular imaging. And also built the first web trading site for Charles Schwab, which is actually, I look back, it's bad. Basically the biggest casino in the world. So everybody can gamble, right? That's what it is. It's web trading. Actually, it came down here. We do some job repurposing. I changed field again. I started doing cancer more and Alzheimer's disease drug development. We have a couple of drugs right now. I try to push it in. Biology take longer time, much longer than computer. Computer is very fast. You see result very quick. Biology take time because clinical trial take 10, 17 years. 17 years by the time I retire, probably I see my job passed. So this is the work-related accomplishment. I think I enjoy it, but I never look at it as enjoyment. A friend of mine, I used to give a talk in Cambridge University, and the guy actually, the professor, chair professor, he made a comment, say, people have these type of accomplishments should retire many times. I told him I'm pretty still alive, I'm not a legend. So, but my point is, for me, I have a different philosophy. I have done that, be there, done that. I don't count on it already. Finished. For me, it's finished. I think the bigger accomplishment is I'm able to do what I want to do in life. I may not be consistent, but when I want to do something, I am able to have freedom, say I want to do this. And I think able to do what you want to do in life is, as a free man, as Rudolph, who's the philosopher, Emerson, used to say, self-reliance. He has large influence on me actually. He's a philosopher. He's one of my favorite philosophers. I think this is my biggest accomplishment. So I don't really care about too much about career, although it sounds like a lot of career. If you look at it, I really don't care because if you want a career, you stay in one field, keep going up, keep changing field. You don't have career. People never figure out who you are. And every time you change field, you lost your seniority. I won't advise people to think I do, but able to do what I feel like to do, I enjoy doing, and I think this is the biggest accomplishment. That means I enjoy what I'm doing. That's the biggest accomplishment so far. I can afford to enjoy what I'm doing. That's, to be careful what I say. I can afford to. I still can afford to. I think this is better than other accomplishments. The other success, all these things, is not my effort. I mean, reality, no one success because of oneself. It's the whole team, whole environment. You just in the right place, right time. People just too full, sometimes too full of themselves. They think they are the one who make it happen. I never believe in that. It's a whole bunch of people, even the CEO. Success of CEO is not because of CEO. Because the whole culture, the people, the environment, the channel, the market, all these things. So I think I do a lot of projects. I just happen to be at the right time, be there, the person do the work, enjoy it, and I already get my enjoyment out of it. I think this is a real accomplishment. So for me, those are not really accomplishment. I think, but able to and to afford to do what I think I'm interested to do. I think this is, so far in my life, I still can do that. I think this is my accomplishment, and not starving. At least I'm not artist. A lot of my friends still artists right now. Tough. Sometimes I also donate some money to them actually. Tough. They are a lot of passion. And my classmate, he has been, I don't know what happened, lost track of it. He want to be, he's a university graduate, he want to be not a movie star, he just want to be play. I think he tried to walk Broadway, all these things. I don't think he still make it. I don't know what happened, lost track of it. I used to fund him a lot. I have two classmates end up to become a missionary. I also supporting them. Yeah, I think able to do what you believe is important and you like to do, excel, and you can afford to do it, is the biggest accomplishment for me anyway. Look at it. By the time, put it this way, all the title you have in the world, when you left the building, you're just ordinary citizen. Doesn't count, isn't it? Right? I've been in CEO, I've been a senior VP or see something. I've been very low engineer. But it doesn't matter when you left the company. It's just you. The title doesn't count, right? So I think this is why I think it's important.
Do you have any more questions?
No, good, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
don't call me about the American politics part.
Yeah.